Hey, Go Slow to Go Fasters. Kendra Chapman here. Welcome to the Go Slow to Go Fast YouTube channel. Before we jump in today's conversation, I want to share a few things that might shift how you think about dinner tonight. We're living in a time when food isn't just fuel. It's tied to our bodies, our health, and the way we connect with the people we love. Right now, more and more families are choosing home-cooked meals over eating out, not just because it feels good, but because it makes sense for their wallets and well-being. In a 2025 lifestyle survey, 68% of U.S. families said that they're cooking at home more often than they did 5 years ago, driven by rising prices and a desire for connection around the table. According to the Daily Feature, it's not just about cost. Studies show that 88% of adults eat home cooked meals a few times a week or more. Here's why that matters. Grocery store prices have definitely risen. We all have seen that. We felt it. But restaurant meals are still significantly more expensive. So preparing meals at home often costs a fraction of what you'd spend eating out, according to the Hungry Times. Cooking at home gives you total control over ingredients, including nutrients, salt, sugar, fats, and all the other things that go into creating your meals for your kids or yourself, which matters for your health and theirs. According to NASDAQ, when families cook together, even simple meals, there's real evidence that kids learn life skills, build confidence, and shared meal times boost communication and connection. So if you've been feeling like food prep is just another thing on your list or that eating out is easier, this episode might just change how you think about the kitchen as a place of presence and not pressure. Today's guest, Janet Irizarry, brings that to life. We talk about her recent trip to Wyoming and how nature can really help us slow down and be mindful. Mindful cooking can deepen our relationship with food, reduce waste, and bring more meaning to everyday meals. We even chat about practical ways to involve kids in the kitchen, even when it's messy. So pull up a chair, get cozy, and let's slow down together at the heart of the home in the kitchen. I wanted to welcome Janet and ask, how are you going slow to go fast these days?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. How am I going slow to go fast? Well, I just came back from an amazing vacation out to Wyoming where I did a hiking, biking, kayaking, and rafting trip. And to me, that's the way I slow down is to get out in nature, away. I love people, but I love to be away and just slow down my mind. And the most amazing part about my trip was I said it was like meditative because the beauty is so immense that you don't have time to think of anything else but, well, wow, oh my goodness. And so it was really cleared my mind and there was just no place better to be.
I love that for you. And I've been out west a couple of times. The last time I traveled in an RV with my family and we drove out for a family reunion. So it was quite a trip. And I too would just look around me and it's just all encompassing. It surrounds you. It's so beautiful. So good for you for getting out there. It's been since probably 2020 since I've done that. So I need to get back into thinking about a long trip like that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's breathtaking.
Nature is just such a great way to slow down and
It
really
is.
live in the moment. And, I love going to the beach too and laying there, but I always start thinking about what's happening at home.
Mm.
But when you're hiking or biking or rafting, you don't have time for that. So you just clear the clutter in your head and all you think
Mhm.
about is things that are just making your heart sing, and
Yeah,
appreciating and seeing eagles fly by or we saw some big animals and you can't really think about anything more when you're looking a bison straight
that's
in the
true.
face, so it
Very
was
true. And you
wonderful.
said you saw a grizzly bear as well.
I did see a grizzly bear. Actually, it was not far from one of the bisons,
Ooh,
which was really cool, but I was far enough to enjoy and see
nice.
it and just say, "I saw a grizzly bear."
Yeah, you were safe, but you definitely were up
That's
and close
right.
and personal. That's awesome.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was very exciting, and when I wanna go to my quiet space right now, I just close my eyes and think of everything I saw and everything we did.
Yeah, and what I remember about being out there is how crystal clear everything is, right? The
We were
colors.
so fortunate, yeah, and we were fortunate because before we went, the couple days before we went, I guess they were getting there were some forest fires and there was some smoke. But the
Mhm.
night we got there and it rained, and first of all, we're in the Grand Tetons, so right in that area, and you're up at like 7,000 feet. Well, that thunder was like no other thunder I ever heard in my life. And it came through at night and it cleared all the smoke away. And we just had such pristine days. And they were partly cloudy, partly sunny, but the clouds add to the dimension of everything you're looking at. And in that area, they have just such a gamut of different geology going on. And I do what I do now, but I do have a degree in geology, believe it or not. So appreciation of what's going on there brings it
Yeah,
to
and you
another
can,
level.
depending on where you were able to go, you can see literally the layers of
Yep.
time in
Yeah.
the soil and the rocks. It is amazing. It
All
is
the different colors,
awe-inspiring.
right, too? Amazing.
Yeah, it is, it's beautiful. Well, we
Let's
could
go.
go on for hours about that, I know,
I go
right? Oh my gosh, yeah, and I wanna hear more about your adventures too, because 'cause I'm sure you have stories about seeing moose and caribou and, like, yeah, it's definitely, I'm sure, on several of our listeners' and viewers' bucket lists as well, so, yeah, life goals, right?
mhm.
But, it's not just in those moments where you get to go on a vacation of a lifetime or go out and see something completely different in nature. It's also in those moments that you're going to speak about today where just the mundane working in your kitchen can really bring you a place of quiet and contemplation and being reflective and being grateful. So, can you take us back to where you started and how you got to where you are now with your work in the kitchen?
Well, I grew up in a home where the kitchen was the heart of the home. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and, um, she, just made the kitchen a happy place because she loved to cook, and everything tasted so good. I always talk about how much love she put into it. Wasn't She did use really good ingredients because part of that was also during the season, taking us to the farm markets and picking out the tomatoes or whatever. I do it to this day. It's like you hold a tomato that was just picked and you just look at it and you smell it and you appreciate it. And that has to make it taste better. That's the beginning of my story, just appreciating the kitchen. And then I landed up getting into the restaurant business. So food took on a whole different meaning. And I ran three very successful restaurants, very busy. And food was, as I said, was the way I made my living. So it takes on a little bit of a different meaning. And kind of, when I look back at it, kind of lost a lot of meaning for me because I tell about how, although my mom taught me how to enjoy food and how to appreciate it, I own restaurants. So when I was raising my kids, they didn't really get the same experience. And I honestly didn't realize it till very recently. But, when I was home for dinners, if I was home for dinners, they were rushed, and it really didn't sink into me till I opened up my computer where my son had been writing his college essay, that essay that you have to write, to prove, show you're different or whatever to get into the college, and I nearly fell on the floor when I saw that he wrote that my mom owns 3 restaurants, my dad works for a major food company, and there's never any food in the house or dinner on the table. And I guess, yeah, not it did not make me feel really he told it was a joke, mom, because it's I exaggerated. It still made me think, and I reflect on that a lot. That's where I am today. I created a method for enjoying the kitchen more because I think when we started the conversation, I think you referred to work in the kitchen. I'd like to reframe that. Like, if we think about it as work, then it is work. But if we can reset our mind and learn to appreciate it and slow down, be intentional, take that tomato, look at it, take some basil, look at it. Oh, how can I put these together? And then cut slowly and enjoy the process and the smells. It changes. the kitchen, it changes how you show up for your kids. And basically, I just want to make, I missed out on giving that to my kids, though my kids turned out fine, okay? They do love to be in the kitchen and they like to cook and stuff like that. But I know in today's crazy environment with being pulled in so many directions that it can be really hard to enjoy the kitchen, especially, another meal, right? But I've created a method to help bring more joy. And it really, it's not about being perfect. It's not about being obligated. It's about just awareness, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, because there's all walks of life listening to this podcast. There are people that are in different phases and stages of their life, you know? And I would think most of us probably dread that question, "What's for dinner?" Just because we've got a million other things that are on our plate, literally and figuratively, and we've got to think about so many things before we think about what we're making for dinner. And it's going to look different in every home. But I, like you, I know it's growing up being from a predominantly, scratch I would say scratch cooking home. My
Hmm.
mom made a lot of food from scratch. She was a working mom for most of my experience, but in the early part of my life, she was home more. I also had I had grandmothers that cooked and great grandmothers that cooked. So I was around cooking and baking. I know what that smell of a tomato is like in the garden and when it comes into food. Like I can have those grounding moments from what you speak about. But my dad was a landscape architect, so was our garden or yard perfect? No, because he didn't have time for that. He didn't have time to come home and work in the garden at our house or make our yard look nice, you know? So they say that, you hear that all the time, people that do whatever their craft is out in the world, they don't do that at home because they don't have time for it. They
Yeah.
they do it all day. Why do they wanna do it when they come home?
The shoemaker's son has no shoes, right? Wasn't that
Yeah,
like the old time?
yeah. Right, absolutely. I think that's a common something common that we deal with, and what we do during the day isn't really what we wanna do when we get home. But I think we all, to some degree, do some sort of cooking or baking in the kitchen at some point, or we get takeout and we know what food we like. So thinking about that mindset of like, what can you do in the kitchen as a parent, or maybe as somebody who's an empty nester now for maybe around the holidays, if you're, looking towards a couple of months from now or a couple of weeks from now about what that might look like for a meal together with family. It's something just to kind of think about as a way to take every moment, one step at a time. And if you can find the joy in cooking or baking, at least just one meal, and that's a start. And like you said, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah. And if you're a parent, the added benefit of establishing a different relationship with your kitchen and bringing the kids into it is the kitchen is a great place to teach. I like to say the kitchen is a classroom and it's a time to start conversations. That's not a lecture. It's a time to, when you sit around the table and you like start talking about that great tomato. And we're talking a lot about tomatoes. There's a lot of other vegetables, but how much many resources went to make that beautiful tomato. And we wrote it locally, we were supporting the farmers, and you just start conversations like that. And you teach values of gratitude. You teach about money, economics, you teach about giving back and how people aren't so fortunate and, about protecting the environment.
Yeah, and my three at home right now just turned 11, triplet boys, and they are at that
God
age.
bless you.
Yeah, there are moments where I need all the prayers I can get, but there are moments where I'll be in the kitchen and let's just say I might not be in a good mood. I know I've got to put something on the table and I've got my mom in the back of my mind going, you need to make sure that you have something green. You need to have variety. You need to have color on that plate. I've got all that in the back of my mind. I'm going, I just want to put some chicken nuggets and some fries in the oven and just be done with it. But, so it's a balance. But the boys are wanting to help more, which is great because
Hmm.
I made spaghetti the other night. something simple. I was like, I'm not taking meat out and just making a red sauce. And we did literally, bringing the tomato back into the conversation. And we have a few tomatoes that are coming out of our late garden right now. We're taping this in September. And it was great. I was able to get some fresh produce into that meal and not just from a can. But, I do the semi homemade. I do use sauce from a can too, and it's okay.
It's okay. You can use frozen vegetables. That's okay. The best thing is that you come to the table and not stress about it because the whole
Yeah.
family feels that, and
Yeah,
if
they
it
do.
makes, even if you have to do takeout, okay, do takeout, but maybe
Mhm.
you want to serve it on regular plates instead of paper plates just to make it,
Gosh.
seem more special. And, maybe you want to light a candle, maybe you want to put music on, just little things that get you in the mindset of, okay, take a deep breath and slow down a little bit. And, don't, it's interesting because I also teach at the Culinary Institute of America and I teach Introduction to Hospitality. And it's a great class to teach because the students are coming in, it's their first beginning of their semester. And I go around and get to know the students, and I often ask, why are you picking culinary? And so many times it has to do with a memory of family meals or how their mother was in the kitchen. I mean, sometimes it's, they want to be the next Bobby Flay or whatever, but it is when you think about how many memories you have around food or the opportunity to make memories, it's unbelievable. And it's just really heartwarming to hear the students talk in that respect. And a lot of times it's, my Nona. Like, oh, yeah, you got a Nona? And who will help, who said that I just loved her meatballs and just the way she took care of it. And I learned to cook from her. And that's so wonderful.
Yeah, and not everybody probably has a Nona, but maybe you have somebody in your family who liked to be in the kitchen and made something for you, or you
Yeah.
remember those smells from your childhood. And if not, then, it's your opportunity now to bring that into your story, into your home, however you want that to look like. So, yeah, we're not all going to be Martha Stewart, and I'm not
No.
going to
And
beat
nor should you
myself up
have to
about
be,
that.
right?
No,
But
right. I think we,
just take a little bit more time to
mhm.
appreciate it, and
Yeah,
the method that I've created is my company is My Mindful Kitchen, and I call it the MMK method. And I know, like, if I said to someone, "Oh, let's go organize your refrigerator," or like, "How's your refrigerator?" The first thing someone's going to say is, "Oh no," or like, "Let's go dive deep into your freezer. What's in there?" That's a scary thought. But the thing is that if you just deal with it, tackle it once, put some music on, do it in a way that feels good to you, and then, just say to yourself that you're going to try and keep it that way. It just relieves so much stress because every time that freezer or refrigerator is a mess and you open it up, it's a stressor. I don't care what you say. But if you have it organized and it's pretty and you're, proud and you can find things easier, that hour it took you to clean it out is going to bring you 100 times back that time.
yes, agreed. And you can't beat yourself up about what you have in your fridge. It's not going to look like you went to organic food market every time you open it up, and that's okay. You just have to, hopefully it makes you happy when you open the door.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the things I teach is about how to keep food fresh longer. Because a lot of my mindful kitchen really is about reducing food waste, which will save you money, and it's just about being more organized and feeling good because no one feels good when they throw something out. They know that it's just wasteful habits. It's not something that makes us feel good. But so I always say that when you can make something last longer in your refrigerator, instead of feeling guilty about throwing it out, is the exact opposite. You feel excited. And I kind of liken it to when I've kept broccoli in my refrigerator fresh for up to 3 weeks. And yes, and it's very simple. But when you do that, you take it out to use it. It's like when you go to the store like Marshall's and you find a piece of clothing that's on sale from $100 to $15 and it's in your size, that's such a good feeling. You know, woohoo! You want to shout it from the rooftops. It's the same kind of exhilaration you get when you keep your broccoli fresh and don't throw out.
Yeah. And if it's getting to that point in my mind, in my fridge, I usually throw it in the freezer
Yeah.
because I don't want to, because I know I probably need it for a soup or a stir fry in a couple of days, but I don't want to like have to throw it out.
Pat yourself on the back. Good job.
Yeah. Saving, because I can think of that commercial where the person is in the grocery store and the stuff is running down the conveyor belt and it goes right into the trash can. It's like all the food that we waste.
Really?
Yeah, it's
I
one
never
of it's
saw
a,
that commercial.
yeah, it's about like food waste basically, thinking about how much we spend
If you ever see it
on
again,
all
let me
waste
know.
stuff too.
That's great because that's what you're doing. That doesn't feel good, especially with food prices so high right now. You can't afford to waste. And that's the other thing about the method. I also kind of go over how to get your kids involved because once your kids are behind it and understand the economics behind it, or, as I talked about the resources and that it affects other people, that's all they need to know to make those little changes.
Right. Yeah. And with newspapers really not being a thing anymore, you don't really get the coupons and the clippings and all that anymore either. So you have to be a savvy shopper trying to buy like non-name brands, going to the store, trying to keep a food bill down with growing boys below
I oh,
200 a week is a feat. But,
three
um,
boys, 10,
yeah.
you said 10 years old.
Yeah, they just turned 11, so they're drinking
Mm,
it's a gallon of milk per kid these days. So 3 gallons of milk every week.
oh, that's a lot. That's a
Yeah,
real
but,
lot.
if there's so you have tips and tricks on how to keep your food fresh in the fridge, how to make it more visually appealing when you open that door and organize everything.
Yep, your pantry, your refrigerator,
That's
your
great.
freezer.
Are you a fan of taking all the food out of their containers and putting them in airtight containers? How do you feel about that in a
I do it
pantry?
with certain things. I mean, it's great if you have time to prep when you get home, because once again, that will save you time along the way. But that's only if you can do it. And once you get in the habit, it makes it a lot easier. And once you realize how, let's say you go shopping on Sundays or Mondays or whatever, and you do that, and you think of it as, wow, I'm doing good. I'm organizing myself. I'm going to keep food fresh longer and stuff like that. It's much more of a motivation. But then as you go through the week and you realize, I can just take this out and that out. And, you know, sauteing and stir frying are some great tricks. I say, make it a family affair. Say, okay, what cuisine do we want tonight? Do we want Italian? Do we want Mexican? Do we want, Asia? Whatever. And then take out a protein. It can be chicken, tofu, whatever you have, a couple vegetables, and get the spices together. And then think of a starch you want and just have fun. Have fun. Yeah. And it's a great way not to waste food and it's quick. And if it's all cut up
Right.
like you just said, that's
Mhm.
even better, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do usually do my shopping on a weekend and then food prep on a Sunday. And that was right now I'm not working full time. This is my focus now is being a stay-at-home mom, but that's still obviously work, but I have more time to do that shopping and prepping, but I would do that when I worked full time as well on a Sunday. And then I felt better for Monday through Friday and what that looked like. But we still did frozen pizza on a Friday, generally speaking. But for those working parents out there right now or families that are kind of feeling like they're in a rut, what would be a suggestion to kind of mix it up if that's kind of what they do? They have their set routine and they have the same kind of foods every week.
I
Is there
say
anything that you
implement,
would suggest?
I would just say implement one new thing. Let's create Tuesdays as Taco Tuesdays or something like that, or one day a week, or let's plan on Thursdays that we all work at dinner together, like get the kids into let's menu plan for the week. Menu planning, people don't want to do it, but it's a godsend. It just makes life so much easier. When you go to the store, the way that saves you money is you go with a list.
and you don't have an impulse buy here and there.
Yeah,
And you get their buy-in so you don't have to answer what's for dinner because they know what's
yeah.
coming.
I like to
Yeah.
say change what's for dinner to thank you for dinner, and we have so much to be thankful for. So when you look at it that way, you know, thank you for the time together. Thank you for this great meal that we have. Thank you for, you know, a reason to have conversations, you know, thank you, thank you, thank you. And um, yeah, I mean, I know for a parent, especially someone with 3 boys, it sounds like you're already doing it, but it might seem like more work trying to bring your kids into the kitchen. But the bottom line is, if you're looking for a great teaching moment, if you're looking to get them off the devices and just spend more quality time. Quick funny story is when we talked about my son and his essay, that I found. The I was telling him about that, that I realized it, and I go, "Do you also remember Jeffrey?" He turned 13 or so, and we started cooking together. And I go, "Jeffrey, do you remember when we used to cook together?" Just it was a way for me to spend time with him because he didn't wanna be around me. And he says, "Mom, you know what I remember?" I go, "What?" He goes, "I remember planning on what we're gonna have, going to the grocery store and going and shopping for it." And I looked at him, I go, "Jeffrey, are you crying?" He goes, "It brings back such good memories." Who knew?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
I mean, and they don't forget because I know my dad still talks about how he learned how to cook from his grandmother, and he remembers being in the kitchen at his grandmother's house. Like, those are gonna be deep core memories that they don't
and
forget,
licking
which
the
is great.
spoon, right? And
Yeah.
getting a little
Yes.
messy.
Mhm. I remember making egg salad on the floor of my grandma's kitchen. That it was my job when I was 4 to take the egg shells off the eggs.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
it was
Love it.
fun. I know. The memories can be just simple, but it's, like, something that they're just never gonna let go of, so there's just so many things that I wanna unpack with you on this. The I agree, being an educator too all my life, I feel like simple things like fractions and math are great ways to teach kids with the measuring cups and the measuring spoons. It's just
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
totally.
That's so great. And once they realize it's for something and can go to
Mhm,
something, it makes it so much more meaningful and not painful. And the other
right.
thing about that is you're helping your kids be able to live independently. You're giving them the opportunity. And once again, I like to say the kitchen's a great place for conversation,
Mm,
and bringing up things like why math is important, how it can, be implemented in the kitchen, and then also talking about why you don't like you can't just say to a kid, "Don't waste food," or "Don't throw that out." But when you talk about how it got to your table and the
mm,
resources, and I've created videos that help tell that story because kids, most adults don't even realize
yeah,
how food gets from the farm and all the processes and all the resources, human and natural
mhm,
resources it takes. When you start thinking about that, you have to have much more respect for it. Mm, Once again, no one's fault. We grew up in a world of abundance,
right,
right?
right,
Where your kids go to the store, they're totally packed with all food. So, like, I still have apples in the refrigerators, but I want these ones, so I'm going to buy them. Why not? They're there. They
mhm.
look beautiful.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, and unless a kid has a frame of reference about where food comes from, then they don't respect it and understand it when they, see it at the grocery store and know its story. Like my kids are in 4-H, so they get a little bit of a taste of what it's like to see the life cycle of meat, produce, that kind of thing. But not many kids have ever been to a farm or let alone understand the process of our food and where it comes from
and
these
that's
days.
great. Take the kids shopping, and there's a thing called food miles. How far did a food come to get to you? And then you think about the resources and the gas, because that's why we buy local. It doesn't. It's less of a food print, we call it. So food miles, food prints, and it's very interesting because then it becomes the conversation of this was grown locally and we want to support the people around us. They're our neighbors, they're our community. How many conversations can come out of that?
Yes, absolutely.
So many.
And if you have a chance to take your kids to a local farmer's market, it's even better because then they start to meet the farmers and
Yeah.
they'll have a relationship with them if you go more than once or twice.
Yeah, it's awesome. And there's games you can play. I have a course that I designed, which is called the MMK method, Your Path to Becoming a Mindful Foodie. It's about exactly what we're talking about, getting the kids to start appreciating food more. And it's a quick 10-week course. And it has games in it. So like a game would be to go to the farmer's market and pick out something that you don't know what it is, bring it home and do research, eat it, see what you think about it. And yeah, just there's things you could do. Find the local farmer and ask him one question,
Yeah, we got a dragon fruit the other day at the grocery store, and I had to look up how to cut it open and, harvest it basically. Much kind of, we've been eating kiwis too, but dragon fruit, that was the first one we had in our home, and it was a great treat. And I think we'll do that again.
That's
And
learn such a great thing. Yes,
yeah, I
experiment.
mean, just something like get a different fruit from the grocery store that you've never purchased before and try it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with younger kids, you can actually go into the grocery store and play games like, let's find something that's round, find something that's square, like doing different shapes or different colors. And yeah, the food is a great teaching mechanism, and it's also good to eat.
Yeah, it's great for the littles because you get them involved, and they're not always asking for the stuff that's at their eye level, that's the candy in that
Ugh,
checkout aisle. They're gonna be more interested in the fruit and trying to figure out what it's gonna look like inside if they've had that conversation with you in the
yeah.
produce section. So that's a great way for parents out there if you wanna, redirect.
Make it fun to go to the grocery store with them, and there's just different ways of getting them involved, and, you know, it's a social thing too. But if you go into the grocery store with that mindset, "I hate grocery shopping," do a few affirmations before you go in, have a goal, have a list. Don't waste your time, that you have it on the list. You go, done, in and out, and make it a learning experience.
And if you're not using AI out there or you're not in Surrey and Alexa, you can do your shopping list from them as well. Like as you go through your fridge, we've been of late telling Surrey and Alexa, add this to the shopping list. And it's been great because it keeps us on track.
That's awesome. Because how many times also do you go to the store, and that's one thing about being organized and making a list, and you come back and you say, "Oh, I already had cream cheese," or "I already
Hmm.
had this," or whatever it is, and
Hmm.
you're gonna waste. I mean, and it's a waste of money, it's a waste of the food because 'cause you're probably gonna throw it out, so it's once again, it's slowing down to do those things in order to be intentional and have more time.
Yeah. So, okay. So, making a list, making sure that you go through your kitchen and your pantry. Maybe we have a deep freezer in our garage. So, we go through those areas first, make our list, check with Siri and Alexa. And then we go to the store. Our goal is to keep our price down to a certain price point. Then we come back and we put it away. That's a lot to do, right? And so you can break that up over multiple days or you can, however you want to organize that. For the parent out there or the grandparent out there that's getting ready to have grandkids for a week, what would be some other suggestions that you might have to make it fun in the kitchen?
Just not being worried about being messy and it coming out perfect. I think everyone's goal to be perfect, and you began the conversation also about sometimes doing pizza out of frozen vegetables or whatever. That's totally fine. Also, a good thing is to be conscious of how many people you're feeding, because that's why, wait, a lot. So I don't know about you. I'm a huge fan of leftovers. I love leftovers. I know some people who, you know, won't eat that. Yeah. And so, especially if you're that person, you have to be more conscious of how much you're cooking. Me, I like, I'm going to make stuffed peppers. My farm by my house has the most magnificent bell peppers, red, yellow, and orange. And I'm going to tell you, They are so great. So I have so much chopped meat. I have turkey, ground pork, and ground sausage. I'm gonna put it all together and make this big vat of I do this one I'm gonna do like a Mexican flavoring in it. So I have Mexican, put black beans and rice and corn in it because the corn is fresh right now too. And I'll stuff the peppers whole and just put them in the freezer. But I make a lot. I love and make a lot. Or, once again, I know I like leftovers, so I have no problems with leftover. And like you, if I do see that after 2 or 3 days it's not going to be eaten, I put it in the freezer. It's dated. Labeling is a good idea. Okay. So you know what the dates are. And also
Mhm.
another trick for the freezer is to have a freezer inventory. And
Mhm.
like I have if anyone wants, they can write to me and I have a sheet that does that. And that way, when you do it, you mark it off that
Yes.
you have 3 orders of stuffed peppers in your freezer. You take one out, you cross one off. So now you know you only have two and you add something. So those, inventories
Mhm.
lists are great because I know
Yeah.
freezers can get pretty scary, right?
Yes, yes. If you have one of those, like, deep freezers that have layers and layers and layers of stuff that you have to kinda lean in and kinda figure out, that's hard. We have one of those upright kind, but they still I find stuff all the time in the way back going, "Oh, I didn't know I had that." And I'm one of those people that buys butter every time I go to the store because I can always freeze it, but then I realize I have, like, 6 things of butter, and I'm like, "Okay, I need to not buy butter for a while."
Yeah, and I have one of those big chest freezers, but by keeping an inventory outside,
Yeah.
um, it
It would
helps.
be helpful.
Yeah, it
Yeah, you
helps.
know what you have, and it helps
Yeah,
you scan quickly if you've been taking care of it along the way,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Because I
What about chicken stock and different broths and beef broth? Do you do a lot of that, like,
so much
bone
it's
broth?
go down to my chest freezer because I can't if I have a chicken carcass and all the scraps of all the vegetables, the carrots, the celery, whatever I'm using, and especially like if I want to get rid of stuff, I make stock all the time with the bones and then whatever. I mean, celery's gonna, I've had it in my refrigerator for 3 weeks. It's looking kind of not so good. So I'm gonna put it in. And you can revive things like celery by putting them, flashing them in cold water. Like if
Mm,
it looks like it's limp and put it
okay.
in cold water
Yep,
and they brighten
they
up
come
like
back.
and lettuce is the same thing. So there's tricks.
Okay,
But
good to
to go
know.
back to the broths and the sauces,
Mhm.
um, I was just asked for some tips for I don't know if you've ever heard of delish.com. It's an online food um food website. They always cover all stuff and they asked me for some appliances that would help save money. And one of my favorite things is an immersion blender. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I have one from my grandma. I just
Oh,
used it yesterday. Yeah,
yeah, and it's great
it's
for
great.
making sauces or using things
Yes.
that look like, soups and whatnot. Handy little
Yes,
things like that.
because I had heated up my tomatoes out of the garden on the stove with some olive oil and garlic, and then it was so hot, I wanted to blend it up so it wouldn't be chunky because the boys are weird about texture,
Yeah,
and I was gonna throw that into the sauce that I got out of the can, and I'm like, "I don't wanna put this in the blender." I have the immersion blender, so I got that out of the cabinet, and I was able and literally leave it in the pan and just
you know
mix
what?
it
I
up. It
love
was
what you
great.
just said because I did the same thing with my tomato sauce because I don't mind it chunky, but some people
Mhm,
don't, and I never thought it's a consistency thing. So if you're
mhm,
worried about that, the immersion
mhm.
blender can be such a great tool, but I
Yeah,
never
you just have to
actually
remember to
said
use it if
that.
you have it.
Yeah, I never actually said it was because of consistency, but that's why I was using it, and that's a great trick, and you can oh my goodness, for kids who don't, like,
Mhm,
wanna eat spinach or something like that, and
mhm.
you put that in your stock or your sauce and you use that immersion blender, no
No
one
one
knows.
know it, right?
No harm, no
That's
foul.
true. It's a good reminder, like, I like to throw in like, frozen avocado into my smoothies and, like a banana, it makes it so smooth and
Yeah.
creamy, and you would never know it. But being around all of that, being around
Yeah.
the restaurant business, you're able to share all that insight, and it's good to know because I didn't know you could bring celery back and you can bring lettuce back. I mean, I'm one of those, I will use it in a soup before I throw it out, but it's good to know that you can bring those types of vegetables back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What else? What else? Spices. What would be a spice that you think that people don't use enough and they should either rediscover or consider using more of?
Well, fresh herbs always just bring it to the table, and once
Mm,
again, I keep fresh herbs fresh in my refrigerator by cutting off the little ends of them and then putting them in like a deli container with the lid on,
mhm,
and they'll
mhm,
stay up to 2, 3 weeks. So don't be scared to use the fresh herbs because they brighten things up. I love the word brighten,
mhm.
but
Yes.
you throw some, with the exception of basil. Basil doesn't do that great in the refrigerator the way I just
Mhm.
said. It's better if it's out on the counter with some
Okay.
water. But
Yeah.
I would just say enjoy fresh herbs. And you know what my thing is? Like paprika. Do you use
Mm.
paprika? I use,
I do, but I think I use cayenne pepper more than I do
oh, do
paprika.
you?
It's
Right?
kind of like that quiet spice that I put on chicken if I'm going
Yeah.
to do a oh, what's it called? When I'm doing my Instapot
Okay.
for chicken, I like to
But
use the
when you
paprika, but
broil
it's
vegetables or anything, a
uh-huh.
lot of don't be shy.
Don't
Or
be shy with
chicken
the
broiling
paprika.
shy, lots of paprika. It's
Okay.
not only pretty, but it just adds something
A
to,
little layer of spice to the
yeah, it's
food.
not, I
Okay.
think it's like hidden, like, what you just talked about with the
Mhm.
cayenne pepper. Use the same,
Mhm.
but then also put some
Paprika.
paprika is one of my
Okay.
favorites. And
I
yeah,
will do that
and
because
celery's a hidden thing.
I'm having to do some more clean eating lately because the boy's birthday was last week and I had a lot of cupcakes and junk in the house. So now we've cleaned all that out and now I'm like, okay, I need to do broccoli and chicken and rice and just get back into like stir fries and yeah, I need to be doing some chicken in the Instapot or I learned this by just researching how to make chicken more moist in the oven as of late, just putting chicken in a saline brine in a bag for
That
15 minutes. I'm like a convert on that. I'm going to do that every time now. Like I can't imagine not doing that now.
I have a really unhealthy way to make chicken really moist and
Do you?
delicious.
Pray tell.
I saw some and I am like, "Oh my goodness." If you have like, first of all, I think a lot of the chicken breasts right now are like just gargantuan and they're tough and they don't taste like chicken. And I hate that. But sometimes you get them. But if you hatch them this way and that way, and then
Mhm.
take mayonnaise and slather it and
Okay.
let it marinate in it with for about a half an hour, but I take like, well, you could just do regular spices like your cayenne and your paprika and whatever. I use the Kinder spices. They're
Mhm.
really great.
Mhm.
Kinder spices are really great.
Okay.
And then you let it marinate for maybe a half an hour, and then bake it
Okay.
in the oven. Of course, the mayonnaise is going to go, it's going to melt off, but,
Yeah.
and then the top of the always gets crispy on top of it with the spices. It's really
Mm.
good.
I'll
Anyway,
have to try
just
that. Okay. That's something different that I hadn't thought about. I've used
I saw
mayonnaise
it.
on grilled cheeses before, which I know
Yeah,
make them
yeah,
really crispy and yummy, but
yeah.
I haven't done it on chicken.
You
Okay.
can make
Good to
homemade
know.
mayonnaise, maybe that makes it better.
True. Who
Yeah.
has time for that though?
No, let's not go there. That's one thing I've never
Right.
done, and it just doesn't
Yeah.
seem, yeah, but
Now my
the
mom's
kid,
into making things from like scratch these days because she's retired and she wants to
yeah,
learn how to make yogurt. So she's started down that path. I've started down the bread path, but I haven't gone to
you said
making
that.
my own mayonnaise yet. We'll
No,
see. Yeah. But that's okay. If you want to explore that, feel free. I would love to hear more about that. Okay. So what else? Final
I don't know,
thoughts
we
before I
covered
let you go.
so much, and it's really been
Yeah.
a pleasure chatting with you. I think it'd be scary if we lived next to each other.
Well, we'd always have each other's back if we were out of something, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. I've been doing the vegetable brine that I learned about from a gardening homesteader, Elizabeth, who was on my podcast the other day, and that has been life changing too. So now I'm going to have to add a few of your methods into my process and see where we
Yeah.
go.
Th There's so much, brines,
There is.
pickling, all these other things that you can do to
Yes.
keep food fresh and have different flavors,
Yes.
But you have to
Absolutely.
not dread it. You have to look at it as a way to slow down and
Mhm.
appreciate it and be grounded, right?
Yeah, and reflect on the time that you have with your loved ones.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether they be littles or bigs,
Yep.
just take advantage of it. Or, just making healthy meals for yourself.
Well, it's about not just your physical health, it's about your emotional health, and I don't think people tend to give
Mm,
that as much thought because when you do good, not just for your body, but for, you know, the environments or for your pocketbook, that's emotional health.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a good food print, as you said. So,
Yes,
leaving a
exactly.
good food print. I like it. All right. So, we're going to end our conversation there. Thank you so much, Janet, for joining me. It's been a great conversation.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me, and
Yes, absolutely.
here's to a nice, calm, mindful kitchen.
Yes. Bon appetit, right?
Yes.
That's it for today's episode of Go Slow to Go Fast. And as we close today's conversation, I want to invite you to pause for a moment and notice what stayed with you. Maybe it was the reminder that nature, whether it's a trip to the mountains or a few quiet moments outside, has a way of bringing us back to ourselves. Or maybe it was the idea that the kitchen doesn't have to be a place of stress. It can be a space for connection, creativity, and teaching moments. Or maybe it was the gentle nudge to see food not just as fuel, but as part of our emotional and relational health. Mindful cooking doesn't mean complicated recipes or perfect meals. It can look like letting your kids help, even when it's messy, using what you already have before buying more, and getting curious about where your food comes from, or simply being present while you chop, stir, and season. This is what Go Slow to Go Fast looks like in real life, choosing intention over autopilot and letting alignment guide even the most ordinary moments. As you move through the rest of your week, I hope that this conversation encourages you to see the kitchen as more than a workspace, but as a place where memories are made, values are passed down, and care is practiced daily. Thank you for being here and choosing a slower, more meaningful way forward. And until next time, the light in me honors the light in you. And as you head into the rest of your week, let your light shine through. And don't forget to go slow to go fast. And thanks for listening. If this conversation resonated with you, I would love for you to consider sharing it with someone you know who could use a little more ease and intention in the kitchen. And definitely consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss any future conversations. And I'll see you next time so we can be ready to go slow to go faster together. Bye for now.